At this point, it's Sunday night, and I have my first class back from spring break tomorrow morning, and you are currently looking at my ride back to school. If I'm off by just a single tooth on the time belt, this interference engine is completely shot. I guess I gotta crank it now, huh?
Sooner or later you got to.
I'm terrified. Are you ready?
Yep. Yes.
All right. And yes, this is a part 2 video, but do not worry, you don't need to watch part 1. I'm serious, because this absolute genius, sneaker lover, he watched the other video and he knocked out everything that I'm trying to do in just a single day. OMG, congratulations, buddy. I'm so proud of you. I knew you could do it, but while you were speedrunning engineering, I was out here fighting for my ass. See, my spring break didn't start in this garage. It started when I was driving a little dramatically one night. I blew the coolant flange, I dumped all my coolant everywhere and barely saved the engine from melting. So I needed to replace the coolant flange and its related pieces, which I had already planned to do anyway since it had been leaking for a year, alongside a timing belt and water pump, which at 120,000 miles was already a ticking time bomb. Now the quote from the Audi shop to do all this was for $3,217, and I thought they were insane. So I bought the parts myself, which only cost $356, and when the coolant flange died on Wednesday, I had no choice but to spend the rest of my spring break becoming a mechanic. So I got it towed to my grandpa's garage, then I completely ripped off the hood, threw in a new battery, swapped in a fresh cam follower, and replaced the crusty old fuel filter. See, I was deep in the trenches, digging a path to that buried flange by moving vacuum lines, relocating the coolant reservoir, and ripping out the top coolant pipe. But after 2 full days, the real work, which was the coolant flange and timing belt jobs, completely untouched. And we're all gonna fucking die. But you may be thinking, so what? What if you managed to get the timing belt on there perfect and all the coolant flange stuff back together perfectly? So what? Well, the reality is, and I didn't know this at the time, if all your coolant falls out, then you get it towed and you put all the pieces back together, you don't get the luxury of just filling her up with coolant. No, there's a very, very specific method to put new coolant in, and you have to bleed the air that stays inside of a German cooling system that was just open. Apparently, this creates a completely silent airlock inside of the system. What is that? And you won't even know it's happening until it's right there, boiling in your face. I don't think our thermostat ever opened. So the situation's simple. We have a ticking clock until I have to drive back to school Monday. It is 8:18 p.m. A critical oversight right when I thought it was finally all over. We're ready to pour more coolant in there as it flushes through, as the thermostat opens up. Some extra upgrades that may or may not actually make it on the car. And a $356 bet against a sneaker-loving shitter. We'll kick those sneakers off, champ. It's time to make total fools of ourselves. Let's see if we can finish the puzzle and fix this rubbish Audi for the whole world to see. Day 3. We're going straight black, which is what I usually do, but today I'm gonna need it. All jokes aside, like, the car is apart, and I've got 2 days to do it. 2 days to do 2 things that I've never done before. So I think it's time to get this party motherfucker started. In complete honesty, I might actually like driving this van better than I like driving the Audi. The van might be faster than the Audi too. So if I can't ever get the Audi to work again, I think I'm just gonna cut them a deal for the van. Dude, there's so much room for activities. All right, made it to the garage. Now it's time to start getting this vacuum pump off, and we're gonna finish doing the coolant flange stuff. So today we were starting somewhere, but the first thing we needed to do was get that vacuum pump off. We got the vacuum pump out. That actually came out easier than I expected it to.
Once we found the bolts.
Yeah, once I found the bolt back there. So with that vacuum pump out of the way and all those lines from last night out of the way as well, we now had the clearance at the back of the engine to be able to stick a ratchet back there and get the old coolant flange out. But first, I was gonna need to deal with the heater hoses that were still attached to that old coolant flange. And as you can see, it's very hard to reach back there. There's not much space at all. However, I did manage to wiggle the thing off. It's also held on by a clip. Who would have thought? And now that I had that one off, we went ahead and moved to where they connect on the top side. That's one of the heater hoses. We've got the replacements for both of these. See the other one down there too? The heater core is on the other side. We don't want to break that. So I'm just gonna cut these off. So then we started cutting these guys out. You know, as I edit this video, I'm starting to realize that I stopped giving a shit about where I put the camera and trying to get every little nook and cranny of the damn build. I mean, I'd plop it on a tripod, set it to a time lapse, and just forget it was there. So we got the battery out to make some more room, and then we got this hose off. That goes down here to here. So that leads to one more connector here that will pull and pop this out. And damn, man, these hoses, these coolant hoses were absolutely ridiculous to get off. I mean, they were completely glued on there. I've never in my entire life seen anything this bad. It was fucking ridiculous. But anyways, you know, we had to take this guy off, so I continued struggling, trying to forcefully rip it off of there. But Papa John came in with more experience than me, and he's like, hey, man, sometimes you just gotta cut the hose off. I'm like, holy shit, he's right. There you go. And now I'm gonna get my second pipe off. And it was at this point that I stopped trying to be Captain Save-A-Hose, and I just started cutting them all off because, you know, it's just so much easier that way, especially whenever you can easily get replacements. Okay, it's off. So we're having a brief intermission. It's about 1:30, and we've almost made it to the actual coolant flange. It's just like on this car, every single connection, pipe, whatever, is just fused to whatever it's on. So every step takes a full 3 hours. So, okay, we're done eating. We're gonna finish taking out these hoses here, and then I'm gonna take out the actual coolant flange, replace the coolant flange with the new one, but then after that, we're gonna start the thermostat replacement, which is this little piece here, and it is buried way deep in there. So we'll have to take off the alternator and throttle body hose, some other stuff. I did not want to keep having to take these motherfuckers off. It was sickening to me at this point. I was starting to lose it. And there was a lot of off-camera work, man. I don't know how Sneaker Lover did it.
Oh, look.
Wow. Look how destroyed that is. So this is why, look, this is why I've been leaking coolant for a year. Piece of crap. Now I just need to pull out the coolant temperature sensor that actually was the original reason that it broke. All right, so now we just gotta pull this little guy off of his clip. Oh, well, the clip is broken. That's not good. You see that? That's not good. Okay, we're gonna pull this out. Okay, I just pulled it out, and it's a little messed up. This whole kind of thing. I mean, the other connector should still go in there. Probably.
You should.
And I was acting cool for the camera, cool as a cucumber, but in reality, oh my God, look at that. It was freaking me the fuck out. I had literal shit dripping down my leg. Now I'm gonna take this rag and I'm gonna clean up where the coolant flange sat so that we can put the new one in there and there won't be problems too soon in the future. We're gonna get the new temperature sensor onto the new coolant flange. And now it is ready to go back in the engine. Finally, we were reassembling the pieces from the coolant flange shop. However, we still had a massive problem, which was the broken connector piece. We were gonna have to put that thing back in because I don't have the time to solder wires, buy a new connector. I don't even know how to do all that. I don't even wanna mess with it. So if this thing doesn't read our coolant temperature correctly later on, we're gonna have a much bigger problem. The dreaded coolant flange is on. As you can kind of see, it is on there. Now, to get the temperature sensor back on there, which is gonna be kind of difficult because it looked very broken. Yeah, so that connector is on there. How long will it stay? We don't know, so we're gonna try and secure it somehow. I'm gonna start putting the coolant flange stuff, the other coolant flange hoses, we're gonna start putting those back together. And then we're gonna start on the timing belt. So essentially all we're doing here is we're taking our new heater hoses, attaching them to the heater core, and then pushing it down through the firewall to where we can attach it to the new coolant flange. This little tiny replacement hose is on, the bottom hose is on, the other heater hose is on, and they're both reconnected up here. We're gonna get the vacuum pump back on there, then we're gonna take this coolant pipe and reinstall it here. So we got the vacuum pump back in there. It was pretty simple, just some bolts back there. They were kind of hard to reach. Then I reconnected our electrical connectors on our high pressure fuel pump. Then it was time to put back the top coolant pipe, which towards the back of the engine has a part that goes down and to the left and another part that goes to the right, which connects to our new coolant hoses that go to the coolant flange on the left, and then another old coolant hose, which I believe goes to the thermostat on the right. So this coolant line is back. We're gonna leave this disconnected for now, because to get to the timing belt, we gotta disconnect that. So I'm gonna get this little guy back on right here, and then we're gonna reconnect this vacuum line and N80 purge valve. The coolant flange is done. Don't have to worry about the coolant flange anymore. It was actually super duper easy. It wasn't hard at all. There's really nothing to it. All right, so now we are going to start the process of the timing belt. So you get this front core radiator support dropped. So we'll be taking out air filter, getting that crash bar off. Now look, it's coming to a point where we got the fire extinguisher ready just in case. Thumbs up. I've got 24 hours to get this thing done. And it was this exact moment that I was facing the reality of attempting this challenge that I had made for myself. Specifically, how much of this challenge could I actually get done? They're not essential compared to the timing belt, water pump, tensioner, and these guys. So they might just not get done. We're gonna have to see how time plays out, okay? But the plan for tonight, the last few hours of day 3, we're gonna prep this front end for the official timing belt change tomorrow. So let's get it apart. So we started by removing the ECS tuning hot air intake that I recently got when my car was stolen at school by a crew of 2 recently escaped convicts from the local county prison, who then took it to an undisclosed location in which 2 exiled scientists flew in from Germany and installed the intake. And it wasn't too hard to do it all. I mean, we just unscrewed some stuff and then pulled it all out. And with the intake out of the way, the new objective was to lower the front end of the car without disconnecting any AC lines, so that I didn't have to charge and service the entire AC system. And as the front began to drop, I disconnected the wiring harness and then moved to the underside of the hanging vehicle to drain whatever coolant was left at the bottom of the radiator. There was none. I went ahead and removed the hood latch, and with nearly everything besides the AC lines disconnected, we needed to create as much space between the front end and the engine as possible. Most of the time, shops will disconnect the entire front end, including the AC lines, in order to make sure that the timing belt job is as easy to access as possible. And this is part of what contributes to the astronomical repair price. But since we are master engineers, we utilize the bungee cord method and use bungee cords to just hang the front end with the AC lines connected to get it as low as we could possibly get it to go. All right, today was somewhat a success. We got the car in the almost ultimate service mode. Everything is down. The front is just sitting on the tires here, and we're hanging it by bungee cords. And of course, we got the turbocharger stuffed, so stuff can't get in there. All the AC lines are still connected. We don't have to worry about trying to recharge the AC whenever get everything back together, because that sucks, and I've done it before. But anyways, tomorrow, the final day. A little bit stressed out, I can't lie. We got 24 hours, less than 24 hours to get this thing on the road, and it's got to drive pretty far, so if it breaks on the way to Aiken, I mean, I'm just gonna have to keep using AAA. I don't know. But anyways, tomorrow, we're gonna be getting the whole timing belt service done. I actually am gonna attempt to do this N75 valve here. It's not as hard to get to as I thought it would be. We just have to replace all these little clips. So I'll do that before starting on the timing belt stuff so that I don't have to worry about it. It's right here in the front of the engine. It wouldn't make sense to not do it while we've got it down like this. So I'm also gonna attempt to put on this throttle bottle too. It's so much easier to get to now that the front is out. So, however, I don't think I'm gonna make it to doing this thermostat because it's just too deep in the engine. And I don't think I have time to rip off the alternator and rip off all the other stuff in that little spot. It's just not worth the hassle. And it's not actually broken. It literally just came with the coolant flange set. So I was like, I'm gonna replace it. I don't really need it, so I don't care.
Now with the thermostat job off of my mind, I was in a little bit better spirits. 24 hours to do the entire timing belt job, put on the N75 valve, throttle body hose, and the last mystery item. And of course, put it all back together and pray that it works. Get out the road, pal. Hey, you smell like shit.
I thought I was gonna have more time. I thought I would be done today, to be honest. Like, I was kind of hyping it up for the video, but like, God. But anyways, tomorrow, I gotta pick up a couple things from AutoZone, because there's a couple things that are still needed to finish the car. It's the last day to get this fucking thing done. I really thought I was gonna be done on like day 2. Like, I was actually trying to clickbait with the whole not making back to school thing, but low-key, if I don't get it done tonight, like, I'm just not going back.
Put that thumb down, bitch.
To be honest, I don't care that much about it, but like, I actually might not make it back to school. So, you know what? We're gonna see what happens. So we got a couple things to pick up at AutoZone. Oh, shit! Fuck! I knew I was gonna... Shit! Don't ever try to record and drive, dude. There goes my fucking coffee. And I missed the turn. Oh my god. Oh my god. Dude, I fucking ran out of coffee. What am I supposed to drink now? I gotta go to fucking Starbucks. Shit! We got these little wire cutters. I'm hoping they can cut into those clamps because there's like 6 of them and it was really hard to cut them last time. We got the replacement clamps for that. And you know, we got some brake clean to clean off the inside of the timing belt cover because we don't want that belt slipping off and then the engine blowing the fuck up. So yeah, it's gonna smell like coffee in here for the next 38 years. That was not a regular size mug, dude. Look at this shit. This is like 16 ounces. Yikes. What? My boy Brayden, he hooked me up, bruh. This is a boy. I'm supposed to be putting on a timing belt right now, and I'm fucking around with some coffee. Don't put it in 4th, man. Come on. Bro, fuck. Damn. Okay, we're going. All right, we are on the road to the garage to get the day started. Let's lock the fuck in.
I was already burning daylight. I was seriously acting like I had all day to do it, which I did, but I didn't.
It's about 10 a.m. I wanted to get here like 2 hours sooner, but
you know, shit happens. So we're gonna get started first on the N75 valve.
So I got to work with my new clippers to take off these old clamps.
Bro, you cannot make this shit up. It literally broke this thing right off. I just bought it. Are you kidding me? What the hell?
But I believe in perseverance, so I got a pair of hose clamp pliers, and then that didn't work, so then I got some ear clamp pliers, and then I tried a pick tool, and I just worked away at this thing, man. They were stubborn. And for the rest of the day to go smoothly, I was gonna have to hurry my ass up.
Yes, baby. We got this old little guy out. Honestly, it looked fine. This had some oil on it.
Look, it's time for me to come clean. This thing had no purpose at all whatsoever. In the long run, maybe. The old one was perfectly fine.
The N75 valve is done. So that might take care of a couple codes that I have, or it might do nothing. Who knows? And who cares? Okay, so now it's time to attempt to replace this hose right here.
And look, this is another one of those. This was not necessary. In fact, ECS Tuning scammed me.
This came out pretty easily. It seems a little warped, so I'm gonna get rid of that.
I said as we were approaching noon, and I still haven't done anything essential yet.
That was the first thing this entire build that went smoothly. This guy's not going in there. So if you were expecting to see me do that, sorry. Actually, I don't care. We've actually got some storms about to roll in with the cold front. So we're gonna get this garage door shut, and there's pollen over everything too. So I'm gonna get the top of the engine cleaned off because we don't wanna have pollen over everything. That might make the engine blow up or something, I don't know.
So with all the bullshit out of the way, it was finally time to start on doing the timing belt.
All right, you might be able to tell a difference here, or you might not. Oh well, it's done. I can say I did it. So now I'm gonna get the serpentine belt off and this tensioner off, and then drain this coolant pipe. All right, we got this accessory belt off. It doesn't look horrible. It probably would have been fine. We're gonna replace it anyway. And also, when we're putting this back together, we're replacing the actual tensioner and the lower tensioner here. So both of these are being replaced as well when we put it back together.
And next up was to move this coolant hose that's in the way out of the way.
Alright, so we had some real dirty coolant come out of there. It'd probably be useful to do a coolant flush at some point. Now, we're going to get this timing belt cover off. So now I'm going to get all the coils and spark plugs taken out so that it's easier to rotate the engine.
So hopefully at this point you've already figured it out, but the last mystery item is in fact sparks and coils.
They're just a little dirty, they're a little oily. Other than that, they don't look bad compared to the new one. The difference is that this one is red and it says APR. Now we're gonna get these spark plugs out. The spark plugs were absolutely burnt. Look, side by side with the new one. We're not putting these in there though quite yet. Now it's time to do the scary part, which is the actual timing belt. Now this still needs to come off, and this cover. So we're gonna get this guy off and get this cover off as well. And then we're gonna make sure it's really in time. We got all the bolts out, and I'm about to pull that out of there.
Nope.
There we go. The bottom timing belt cover is off, and it looks like someone already made a mark here. We're gonna rotate it one more time to see if this lines up. So this does 2 rotations when this does 1. So it is a 2-to-1 gear ratio. We got a mark on this tooth right here with the chip that's lined up.
And then we put another mark on the bottom gear and belt.
And we counted the amount of teeth on each belt, and they're both 148. So the belts are the same belt as very important to check.
And at this point, like 5 days in, if we got the wrong belt, I think I would just relinquish myself to the streets finally. I don't know.
So now we're gonna get this belt off. All right. The belt is not tensioned anymore.
This was a pivotal moment. Once this belt is off, there is no going back. Even if there's a fire.
The old belt is off. Now we're gonna compare the belts.
It looks like our belts are equal.
Now that our timing belt is out,
We're going to get this water pump here replaced, and we're going to replace this tensioner here and both of these idler pulleys. We were approaching the point of equilibrium, in which it was time to reassemble the pieces of the puzzle instead of destroying them.
now we're gonna get the water pump out. All right, so we're comparing the new water pump to the old one. Try and guess which one's the old one, which one's the new one. Anyways, look at the O-ring on the new one versus the old one. It was bound to fail at some point. So we're gonna get the new one in. All right, we got the water pump on. Now we're gonna get the new tensioner on. All right, so we're gonna use some brake clean and just spray the timing belt area down, and then we're gonna dry it so that it's the perfect condition for our new belt. All right, it's now, what is it, 3:52 p.m. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. We're about to put the new belt onto the gears, and it's gonna go perfect, okay?
I also wanted to say that I'm incredibly grateful that Papa John was able to be there with me to be a second set of hands. I genuinely don't know what I would have done without him. It was a great blessing to have him, so thank you. However, I had exactly 18 hours until my 10 a.m. class tomorrow. So if I wanted to prove the sneaker lover wrong, I was gonna have to lock in. But things don't always go the way you planned them to.
Well, that's not scary at all. We got the new belt on there. Okay, so now we are going to tighten our tensioner. All right, so we've got this tensioner lined up. As you can see here, that little notch lines up just how it's supposed to. So it's lined up. Okay, the new belt is on. We're about to rotate it to make sure our marks still line up. I think we are good to go. So we're gonna start putting stuff back together, get on the new serpentine belt tensioner and stuff, and then I'm gonna put the new spark plugs and coils and stuff in there.
At this point, I felt a huge wave of relief. The belt is on there, it seems to be in time, and I managed to strip 0 bolts. And it was only 4:30 and all I had to do was put it all back together again. But something felt off. It just couldn't be that easy.
So I used all my brake clean in like less than a few hours, so. Right now we're gonna put this coolant hose back. Now I'm putting my new accessory belt tensioner on there with my new bolts. Now we're taking off this old roller and replacing it with the new one. Now we're gonna put the new serpentine belt on here. All of the belt stuff is done. The serpentine belt is on there with the new tensioner and a new roller. We might not have needed either of those, but who cares? Not me. So now we're gonna get our new NGK spark plugs and our new APR coils. We have some fresh air now. We're no longer breathing in the brake cleaner. So I'm gonna start by getting our radiator support back. All right, so we got this wiring harness back. We got the hood latch back in there. Next, I'm gonna get these like coolant hoses back. Now we're gonna get our core brace back on. She's looking more put together now than she was before. Now, I'm just gonna get the air intake back in there. Then after that, we can attempt to start the car. Where we get the battery in there, of course. And fill it up with coolant. We can't forget to do that.
We're now approaching the collective culmination of all of my efforts across a span of 5 days.
All right, it is about 7:45. This guy is done. The coil sparks are done. Coolant flange stuff is done. Cam follower thing is done. We got the fuel filter in the back. This little tube thing is on here. The timing belt and the accessory belt are done. And they're in time, I think. We're gonna find out. We need to put coolant in it and we need to put the battery on. And then I'm gonna run it. And after that, I'll put on the hood and everything. But first, we're gonna go through with flashlights and just make sure that nothing's disconnected, see if we forgot anything.
I was ready to be done, man. I was thinking about bad bitches at school and everything.
Okay, everything's looking good. The only connector I forgot to put on was the coolant level sensor down here. But we got that plugged in. Now we're gonna start filling it with some coolant and we're gonna check for leaks. And the only other thing I'm a little scared of, back and behind the engine with the coolant flange, there is a coolant temperature sensor and the actual sensor is broken and it doesn't clamp on there. So it's possible that that can pop off. So if my coolant temperature gauge stops working, then I will know why. I don't really want to have to fix that. I don't even know how I would fix that, but so now we're gonna start putting coolant in here and we're gonna see if it leaks anywhere.
Now you may be looking at me pouring this coolant right now, and if you're an Audi enthusiast, you may be thinking, man, I really hope he puts that damn top back on.
All right, so now we're gonna get the battery up in there and then we're gonna crank the engine. It's the big moment. Terrified. Start thinking of everything that could possibly go wrong. Okay, so I'm terrified. First of all, everything is back together, you know, except the front, but we're not worried about that right now. I'm gonna get that done. We're ready to pour more coolant in there as it flushes through, as the thermostat opens up. Battery's connected, everything's done. Now it's time to start the car. I'm walking into the engine seat. I wanna hear that fuel pump prime. All right, are you ready? We got the fire extinguisher ready just in case. Wait for that thing to go off. Do it one more time. I guess I gotta crank it now, huh?
Sooner or later you got to.
I'm terrified. Okay, you ready?
Yep. Yes.
All right. Our belt is on there. It sounds good.
All right, so not that bad. We got it to start.
That sound. Okay, our idle's dropping. So we did the timing belt right, because if we did it wrong, the whole thing would have blown up. Uh-oh. We got some smoke. That's probably coolant burning off. Probably get a flashlight and look in there. Nothing crazy is going on. What is that? Uh-oh.
Sitting on the hot This wire was laying on there though. We got to do something about that.
Oh, we'll get a zip tie or something.
Yeah, something. And there was liquid on the pipe.
Right.
So I think this was
You must just be burning that off.
anything else.
And at this point, it had already been running for 3.5 minutes without any reading from the temperature gauge yet.
I'm not getting any other.
It's heating up.
Waiting for this.
My understanding was that as the car heated up and circulated coolant, it would drain from the reservoir into the rest of the engine, which is why I left the cap off and the funnel ready to pour more in.
Open. So that looks like that's just coolant burning off. Everything else back there looks good. Let's check. Nothing weird's going on. We're not heating up yet. Hasn't moved quite yet, which is concerning actually.
I had no idea what the hell was going on because that shit was hot and we had no reading.
Okay, our temperature gauge is going up. So this is good. So that means our temperature sensor that's back there is working, at least. We know the connector works. Now we're waiting on the thermostat to open up and for this to start flowing through the engine.
But it turns out my theory was dead wrong.
I didn't think it was gonna have that hard of a start though. It had a really hard start. Looks like we're done smoking over here. That thermostat still has not opened yet though. We're still getting our temperature up. Yeah, that smoke there, that kind of scared me for a second, I can't even lie. And that temperature gauge will go right up in the middle there, and then that's when that thermostat will open up, I believe. All right, our temperature gauge is, it's where it needs to be. Pipe's not hot yet though. Or wait, it is opening up. Am I crazy? Oh yeah, it's dropping. I can't tell where the line is. Oh no, it's up there, cool. All right, so we just turned on the heat in the car. I didn't think about that. It's not hot at all. That should have been opening the pipes somewhere. Are either of those hot? It should be.
I still had no clue what was going on, but I knew that with a functional cooling system, coolant was supposed to be flowing through the heater hoses, and it wasn't.
It's not blowing hot air at all. Don't know what's up with that. What is it doing?
Well, I think the coolant is bubbling.
It's definitely too hot.
Is boiling in the tubes.
I don't think our thermostat ever opened. Did we disconnect anything with
The only
that?
thing we disconnected was this right here.
This bottom hose never got hot. This is connected to the thermostat right here. This is not hot. It's what we didn't replace.
We didn't mess with that.
Yeah, we didn't touch it at all. Did these ever get hot? No. So we're still out here. It's 9:15. We've been struggling with the cooling system, but we think there's a lot of air in the system and it's not moving through, right? So we started it for a while. It started boiling on the top side, but there wasn't any coolant running through the bottom side of the engine.
That right here, this is not hot.
In the heater hoses, the heater was cold. All right, so we've done some more research on why it's overheating and it's not getting coolant into the pipes how it should and everything. So turns out, they didn't say this in the tutorial videos we watched, but after you open up the cooling system on this thing, and since I had such a big leak for such a long time, there's a lot of air in the system. On the Audis, you can't just bleed it by taking off my reservoir cap and then running the engine because it'll start to overheat. Apparently, whenever you elevate the coolant expansion tank above this top hose here, it should help push some of that air out. We're gonna try to put a hole in it to bleed out that air. So we've got a little hole in here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move this coolant reservoir above this, and then theoretically, there should be coolant spraying out of that.
If there's something coming out of there, then that pipe is full.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got coolant in this pipe now. So tonight, we're gonna have to accept defeat. Turns out, prepping the coolant system or whatever on an Audi is really hard. And the car has to fully cool down for the rest of this coolant to make it through the engine. So once it cools down, apparently that level should drop. And we've got this little genius contraption here. It's called the Shade Tree Mechanic Special. And then we just keep repeating the process of bleeding the air from that top little pipe until our heat blows hot. And then once the heat is blowing hot, that's the other side of the coolant system, and it should be working by that point. All right, we have heat. We have heat, which means the cooling system is working properly. So, I'm gonna have to redo the tests. I'm actually not going to school tomorrow. Hopefully, they let me redo the tests. Well, I'll see you in the morning for day 5. And I'm skipping school to work on my car. This is crazy. Okay. Alright. Freaking stupid. The great thing about owning an Audi is that it is infinite content because it's always broken. In fact, after this video, it broke again. And I will be fixing the drive shaft. And that coolant temperature sensor connector broke. Who would have thought? So stay tuned for that. And one last thing. Sneaker lover? Why don't you suck...